there. Yes.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. This is a continuation of our 9 o'clock budget workshop meeting. It is October 13th, 2025. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are still present. Commissioner Jordan is on Zoom. And we ended the morning session before we continued with miscellaneous. We do have one miscellaneous item that we're going to go ahead and cover before we get started with the rest of the agenda.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Pat Bell, your communications director. Earlier this morning, you had a presentation from Detention Services. There was a point that came up about capacity in the jail. On Friday, there was some inaccurate reporting that we would like to correct before news time, which is in the next 20 minutes or so. Chief Hooper and Sheriff Knowles both have prepared statements that we can release, basically correcting the record that there is capacity at the jail, particularly for misdemeanor offenders. There was one council member of the Spokane City Council who made some comments to the contrary. So there's no questions. I will go get that sent out.
It's actually 2 council members.
2 council members.
Yeah.
Oh,
Kitty Klitzky is the other one.
Okay. And the jail's providing the accurate information.
yes, and we're pointing to the dashboard that shows the occupancy or number of offenders in custody. We're not addressing the other issue of the red light status, but just that there is capacity at the jail. Sounds like there's some other conversations happening. Chief Hall and Chief Hooper that I think will be timely in the next few days.
Okay. Commissioner Jordan.
What was the context of those statements? Was this at a council meeting?
No, I think it was in response to the mayor's press conference on an updated home ordinance. The mayor's taken the position now that a law enforcement response is needed for repeat offenders. Chief Hall has said that, I believe in the reporting anyways, I'm not aware of what the proposal looks like, that the city might request 10 dedicated beds for repeat offenders. There are 2 council members who were reacting to that. One said there is no capacity at the jail. The county runs the jail and is always on red light status. And anyways, that's the context, is really just the question of is there or is there not capacity at the jail?
And so those were just reactions on the record, like in the spokesman or wherever it was.
On KHQ, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
So you think the best response would be about the capacity and not commenting on the red light status?
I think so. I think if we get follow-up interviews, red lights, I think is a more complicated topic. It's probably better addressed in interviews. But it's mainly about correcting what's been reported so it doesn't get wider distribution.
It might be good to also, and maybe this was something that Chief Hooper was already gonna put in his statement, that we always try and keep, like we talked about this morning, the 10%. Like you can't ever fill every bed because of the different needs of those who are being held, right? So you always have to have some capacity to be able to move folks around to keep people safe.
I think the chief has that. The chief's is pretty much just the facts. The sheriff has some more in there about why we need to be careful about talking about jail capacity in the context of community safety, and that the best deterrent to crime is open jail bed waiting for for a potential somebody who thinks about committing a crime. But yeah, Chief Hooper's comments, we have that in there on background too, that we maintain flexibility for operational flexibility for that reason.
I think that's good to get the information out.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. What?
Back to budget. I know you guys, last 2 hours are crying. You have to take a break. We'll start with
absence makes the heart grow fonder. So
So the Parks is here to give a presentation, followed by that we'll go over capital plan for the first time of the season. So let's turn it over to Parks.
Okay, all right, and I just thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. I appreciate the direction received during our last visit and the opportunity to provide an updated approach to park services for 2026 that prioritizes aquatic services to continue at the same level as provided in years past. In our presentation, we've taken care to outline the minimum levels of service that we are confident we can provide working within our target figure. At the end of the presentation, I've included some buyback options for considerations that I'll talk through in a little bit more detail, should the board be in a position to consider these. And we are on slide 2. And so with that, I think you've seen this, you're familiar with it. So I'm just going to jump to the next one. And this slide as well is just an overview of our park system infrastructure equipment. So we'll go ahead and jump to the next one. And I'm excited to share this one with you. We've been able to work closely with the budget office, and we're pleased to include the agency summary in here that should align perfectly with the summary that you have. And this, of course, outlines some of the details from 23 to 26. And looking a little more closely at the figures from 2025 to 2026, one can see the same amount of funds have been shifted around, increasing slightly in salaries and wages and reducing in benefit supplies and services. In the next slide, we'll drill down on these a little bit more. Okay. And here we've gone in with the magnifying glass, and we're showing detail in the revenue lines, charge for services and miscellaneous, because these include the elements that we have influence on, such as aquatic fees, camping, and parking fees at Liberty Lake. These figures have been updated since our last visit to consider more data from this year, and with a look ahead at some incremental increases we will propose for next year. More specifically, the revenue figures now assume small increases in certain fees, such as aquatics, where we're looking to have a $1 increase across the different levels for public swim entry, small $2 increase in lessons, swim lessons, and a couple other dollars for some of the rental items and swim team there. And then similarly, we're looking at nominal increases within the campground, about $1 for tents, $2 increase for RVs and cabin rentals. And again, that will come to you separate, but that has been factored in within the data that we've proposed and contained here in the spreadsheet. So, and then at the bottom of the slide, Trish has broken out with more detail the salaries and benefit figures, taking care to separate out portions of costs between our full-time positions and the extra help. And for context, there you can see the aquatics and campground combined represent about 85% of that $664,000 budgeted for extra help, salaries, and benefits. I'll provide, again, a little bit more detail on these when we get to slide 7.
Before you go there.
Yes.
What's the background on special event and shelter rental taking such a big hit? 37,000 to 6,000.
Yes, we are looking at not offering shelter rentals right now at this level of service, which we'll speak to. And special events will be a little bit more limited, and they'll be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And if we're able to accommodate them, we will. So we were much more conservative with the rental revenue for special events and shelters.
Okay, thank you.
And that could potentially go up, but we'd rather be conservative. And slide 6, this is our 2025 recap. Again, these are level of service reductions that we implemented this year to work within our 25 allocation. We talked through these during our last presentation. So for comparison purposes, I'll just highlight the more notable reduction in extra help, where we went from 17 to 12 this year. And we imposed a 4-week reduction in the length of our overall park services season as well. And those are have been some key attributes to working with our allocation this year. Next slide, please. Okay, in this slide, we've detailed the net changes that I touched on in slide 5. More specifically, to work within our assigned figure, we're proposing to eliminate 1 FTE from operations, reduce one of our landscape architect positions by 50%, and working this person full-time just through the first half of the year to allow for completion of several active projects such as the Avista concessions building reconstruction. We're also proposing to reduce extra help headcount from the 12 this year down to 5, and a 2-week reduction to our park services season to provide a 16-week season. And then similar to others, in our case, we've just eliminated the travel budget altogether. And so again, as we've shifted funds around, this is where we're looking to make up some of those. Next slide, please. During our last visit, we briefed on the cost reduction that can be gained by terminating our agreement to maintain that portion of Gateway Park that's owned by the State Department of Transportation, allowing these funds to be reallocated to service our other county-owned parklands. To realize these savings, staff will bring the necessary documentation before you in the next week or two to execute this within our timeline so that we can realize that. So unless you feel otherwise, we'll be moving forward on this and work to have what's needed so that we can get that notification out as soon as possible in the next couple of weeks.
And again, just we're doing that and they're not providing revenue to make up for it. Is that correct?
There's not any revenue from this park. It's purely a service service that we.
Department of Revenue or Department of Transportation, and Fish and Wildlife aren't paying us anything to do it. Is that correct?
No, we had requested that from them, and it kind of nestles in the other lands that we own, and at the time it was viewed as potentially saving the county from investing in constructing a restroom and parking area and similar services to develop Gateway Park. And I think the priorities and planning have since changed, and we've focused our efforts in other areas within the park system and just operated it from a status quo standpoint.
Thank you.
Okay. Next slide, please. In this slide, we've outlined how the adjustments in staff and funding for supplies and services will translate to specific service adjustments in the field. For 26, again, working with the assigned budget. Kurt, our operations business manager, would like me to stress that when we're looking at these, they represent the minimum levels of service our operations team is confident that they can provide, taking into account the large number of variables that they work through every season, with vandalism being one of the largest. If we have a season with minimal vandalism, mechanical system failures, and no catastrophic weather events, we could end up providing noticeably higher levels of service than outlined. But again, we want to, what we lay out here, we want to absolutely know with confidence we can deliver at least that as we work through this. So, and in this slide, again, some of these were touched on, but they translate to the 16-week season, slight reductions in the number of restroom frequency of cleanings within the restrooms, but we do have them open. We'll be looking to greatly reduce the quantity of trash cans within the park system from what we currently have out there. The trash collection will be reduced from 5 times a week to around 1 to 4 times. And our Camp Carroll Lodge, we're going to shorten the season that we're able to rent that by a couple weeks down to 16. And then we're looking to not place the temporary portable picnic tables throughout the parks. I think these represent probably 80% of the tables within the park system. There are some that are permanently fastened down, and those will remain. And again, that saves a significant amount of time in terms of working with a more limited mow crew and their ability to expedite mowing by not having to move and relocate and return tables that may make their way from where they're intended to be down into the lake water, that type of thing. And save quite a bit of time from that standpoint. And again, as mentioned, special events will be limited on, again, a case-by-case basis. We'll do our best. Some of the events sometimes require a lot of special service, like changes in the irrigation system. Something like that would be very, very difficult to do depending upon the event and the activity. So again, some events will be able to accommodate. And then kind of tied in there with the picnic tables is the lack of shelter rentals, which came up earlier too. Okay, next slide, please. Here, it's kind of hard to read on the right, but this is that chart that we have put together that outlines our level of service. And when this is finalized, we would use this as a tool to help educate and communicate the levels of service to the community. To the left of this, we've provided information for awareness to illustrate the county's services season, along with the park services seasons being provided by our two largest neighboring jurisdictions, which again is just there for information. Next slide, please. Okay. This again may look very familiar. I spoke to most of these items during our last presentation, so I'll just highlight probably the more notable change in this scenario would be the reduced ability to provide structural, mechanical maintenance and repairs to facilities during the 7 to 8 months outside of the park services season there, with the reduction of the FTE. Next slide, please. Right. And reaching one of our final slides, here we've outlined several buyback options in order of priority, recommended priority for your consideration. Speaking to the first two options, we've recommended restoring and adding a skilled FTE to the operations division. In order to provide services, we rely on a careful balance of skilled and unskilled labor due to the complexities of the task, infrastructure, equipment, skill, knowledge, strength, and numbers of hands needed to work together to complete a given task. These positions and the one that follows are best described as providing the foundation which services are built and expanded upon. Full-time employees are essential to adequately support the park system year-round. In the 7 to 8 months outside of the services season, these folks are working to maintain equipment and facilities to be operable and ready to go for the season. A few examples would include repair of, they repair about 28 to 40 picnic tables every season that are generally destroyed. The full-time staff will replace boards, they re-weld the frames, install new hardware, stain, and basically recreate these tables in advance so that they can be available for the next season. As noted in slide 3, we have 106 buildings and structures within the park systems that experience very heavy use and become damaged each year. For these structures to be ready for use, again, the FTEs are needed to complete special and routine maintenance, which may include painting, HVAC service, replacement of plumbing, and electrical fixtures to automated locks. These larger, more timely tasks are generally completed outside of the park season. The Tech 3s must possess a CDL license and skills required to transport equipment needed to maintain parks and facilities. These items represent a small sampling here, what I've gone through of several that the team provided me. Again, just trying to help explain the value of the FTE and why we've prioritized this. When offering additional services, extra help employees are crucial for low skill level repetitive tasks that require little knowledge and little training. Extra helps are supported with training, supervision, equipment, task assistance, and direction by the FTEs. If we were to lean on extra help to provide additional services without enough FTEs in place, there'd be inadequate equipment to operate long-term closure of facilities awaiting repair, and an inability to complete tasks due to lack of training, oversight, and skill, often resulting in additional damage to the facilities and increased risk to employees. And next on the list, we've suggested restoration of our landscape architect project manager position. Excuse me. This position provides direct support for our operations team for many capital maintenance projects and repairs that are completed. Perhaps less known is how this position will directly and indirectly serve our customers through the design of informational materials, such as the pamphlet that you may have seen there that I handed out, which has been a great tool that our park aides use. We have 2 park aides that through a grant that directly interact with patrons in the field and help encourage compliance with our rules through education and encouragement. And so that's just one example of a tool, and that's been funded through a grant. Another example of this would be the informational signage found in any one of our parks. With about 70% of our signage being greatly outdated, this position has started the process to design and develop new and consistent signage, which we hope to eventually install throughout the system. The individual also helps create and push out service notices, social media, and website updates ranging from temporary closures to leading and recruiting volunteers to help with organized plantings and other enhancements to our park system to reduce overall project costs. Speaking to the project manager side, this second position has allowed us the bandwidth to expand outside of just parks to serve capital projects for our golf division, Fair and Expo, as well as the Avista Baseball Stadium. Lastly, in speaking to this option, I will point out that the potential for additional funding may be freed up in 26 by charging back certain project management costs to projects not currently reflected in the proposal that we have, because we just don't know which projects will be funded yet through the capital process. So between the 2 positions, we're estimating there could be another 30 to 50,000, depending upon what's funded through the process. And I think if we look at golf, Fair and Expo, and parks, there's about 3.8 million in capital projects requested, and that does not include the concession stand rebuild. So there's potentially lots to keep them busy that they can be helpful with. And then the 4th item on the slide there would provide additional funding to extend the park season at this reduced level, increase it back up to 18 weeks by hiring 2 extra help employees and services and supplies. And then my apologies, following the submittal of this, you probably all have seen slide 13. Since preparing and submitting, I've had a few folks ask that I identify kind of the rest of the picture. Again, just for informational purposes, what would it take to restore services back to what we're currently providing this year in 2025? So in slide 13, we've provided a buyback option in detail on how we would build on the prior, and basically this option would be contingent upon the assumption that the 2 FTEs in operations are in place, that the 2-week buyback is in place, and then we have the necessary training, supervision, equipment, and support needed to support the extra help employees that are included in this option. So that option on slide 13 includes it's heavy on extra help. It would basically restore extra help back up to I believe the 12 and add 4 more, taking into account our brand new Camas Meadow Park that's coming online. And again, just the increased visitation that has surpassed all expectations. And then the improvements that are scheduled to happen here at Shields this year. So again, there's that's costs, it's 234,000. We break that out into extra help, supplies and services. And with that, we've identified a couple possible non-general fund sources that you might consider. And I will stop and answer any questions. Thank you for, I know that was a lot there at the end, but I hope the information was helpful in just explaining our thought process and why we've recommended what we recommend.
Can you talk a little bit about the new agreement for Vista Stadium that's in process?
Just that we are meeting and talking through that, and I think there is potential savings. Concepts we're looking at would be to shift a path that could potentially shift all of the M&O over to the stadium starting next year, and rent to come in the year after, and looking at a format where we may help find a path to complete the remaining improvements. And I've had one sit down with Chris, and then just pending the outcome of today, I'll have more time to meet with him. But he's recently been able to focus and make some time for me on this. So I feel that there is certainly a strong possibility we may be able to get something in front of you before the end of the calendar year. And we're working towards that. So whether that saves us 80,000 or 150,000, I really don't know yet until I work through that process, but that might be a very broad range of just to give you an idea of what may be there. Potential there, depending upon where we land and how we work out the details.
Thank you.
Doug, so the project manager, landscape architect to 100%, what percent are they at today?
In the proposal, we're proposing to take them in 26 to 50%.
Down to 50.
Yeah,
Okay.
down to 50 with the plan of working them full-time through the first 6 months of the year so that we can be able to get through these major construction projects.
Okay, how many landscape architects do you have?
We have two.
Do you need, do we need more than one landscape architect?
Yeah.
Do we need an in-house, or is that
I
something
feel-
that could be cheaper as something that we hire on an as-need basis? I mean, I don't see us building new parks in the near future. Is that a position that you need a full-time staff as a landscaper? I assume that's very specialized work. It's expensive, I assume, but I mean, if we're not doing any major renovations or purchasing new land to build new park, I know we're finishing up on Camas Meadows. I mean, I don't see us building any new parks after Camas Meadows, at least in the near future. Maybe that's just me, my thoughts, but do you need a landscape architect full-time on staff?
Again, just my opinion, I feel that we do. They bring a lot of value through helping with grant writing. They bring a tremendous amount of value for planning that we can complete, for design work that can be done in-house, I think at an overall reduced cost. We've for years hired it out. I feel like the level of attention to detail with it being an in-house person has really shown in our interface with the public and the community. As I mentioned, next year, I think there's about $1.5 million in potential capital projects for the Fair and Expo grounds. We're looking at $1 million at the golf courses. I think we've requested 1.3 million in parks, and we have the 4 million just in the concession stand rebuild. And then I think there's more on top of that. So it seems like we don't seem to have a shortage of external projects helping those areas. But honestly, I feel like there's enough work in-house if I didn't have any capital projects that I could easily keep them busy.
Does a landscape architect traditionally work on grant writing? And actually, you talked about concession stands, golf, but those types of structure, is that something that a landscape
Yes.
architect deals with?
Yeah, very
An
common.
actual building, not a traditional architect, a landscape architect kind of does both?
With the grants, to your question on grants,
Okay.
it's very common. An example would be, I think at the Vista Stadium, they worked on, it was over a year ago, but they helped put together and pursued a grant for the city of Spokane Valley and I think some of their LTAC monies. As an example, that ties directly into the project and they're intimately familiar with the project. So they were uniquely positioned in that case to help go after that grant and work with other staff to approach that.
Okay. Do all landscape architects have experience in grant writing? I mean, is that?
I don't know that all of them do, but it's
I
really common.
I would think those are two very specialized kind of knowledge base there, you know, like.
No, in fact, I'm just.
I mean, like Heather is extremely talented in grants. Not trying to say anything bad about Heather. Heather might not be great at being an architect. I know other people who are great architects may not be the greatest grant writers. So I was a little surprised to see the crossover.
Yeah, they're specializing in capital park projects. It's generally landscape architects that are writing a lot of the grants that we go after, certainly with the Recreation Conservation Office.
Okay.
If you look at the city of Spokane, I think they have 3 or 4 of them
Okay.
that are driving that. It is very, very, very common. in
Okay.
our field.
I would say probably in a public entity like ourselves, you may not find in a private firm that has landscape architects, they're likely not doing grant writing, but because a lot of our funding is derived for our park system through grants. It's a skill set that these folks have in addition to project management as well. So it's kind of a combined multi hats that they wear.
The other thing that kind of jumped out at me was on the slide in the packet, that $31,000 is all it takes to extend 2 weeks. That seems like a pretty low number to me, and that it would only take 2 extra help individuals to extend for 2 weeks of the park season.
At the lower level of service, yes.
I would have assumed it would have been a larger dollar amount to remain open for the 2 weeks. 31,000 seems like a low number to me. You're confident that's all it would take to extend for the 2 weeks?
Yeah, so we base that on an extension. The doors are already open, it's already set up. So while we're offering services for 2 weeks longer, we're not putting any additional stuff out.
Okay.
We do anticipate to see, 2 more weeks of additional cleanings and we have turnover at the end of the summer. But
Okay.
yeah, because the bulk of the work's already done.
Okay.
We're not doing anything different other than keeping the lights on for 2 more weeks.
Okay. And you would need the 2 additional extra helps to make that work.
Yeah, so like I said, we employ college students as our extra helps.
Yeah.
And towards, once we get into later summer, we do a flip. So the semester kids are with us and the ones that are on the quarter base or vice versa, leave. And we would need 2 additional extra help.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm sure it was up for what are those final 2? Was it 2 weeks at the end or was it 1 at the beginning, 1 at the end? Was it 1 week on each end? Or is it extending it 2 weeks onto the end?
It's 2 on the end.
We made an assumption it would be 2 on the end.
Okay, so you'd shorten it in the fall, not start a week late, end a week early. It's just on one end.
So this 2-week extension or longer park season would be an extension of the park season to get us through the end of September.
At the end, okay,
The
okay,
proposed level of service is a June 1, which is 2 weeks delayed,
okay.
to September 14th or 15th, somewhere mid-September.
Yeah, slide 10, we're proposing June 1 to mid-September
There, okay, I knew it was on
at
one.
the 16th.
There, okay,
And then we were mid-May through mid-September this year.
okay. On that grid on page 10 for Bear Lake, the irrigation, I mean, reducing the irrigation, is that just to kind of lessen the amount of mowing and maintenance that would go into it, or is that to save on the actual water costs?
So both.
Okay, because we're not in a water service area. I assume it's on a well.
It's on a well, but we
Okay.
do we have to run it as a potable water system.
Okay.
So we do monthly testing and have the health district comes out and inspects. So all those costs, electricity, the testing. Play into that, but this is for Bear Lake and Liberty Lake.
Yeah.
It's clumped together, so it's kind of a
Okay.
multifaceted savings. Most of it would be at the other parks and park
Okay.
savings.
Okay. All right, yeah, because I thought with Bear Lake being just outside the Whitworth service area, it's like if we're on a well, because I didn't understand what costs would go into that. I mean, we're not charged by the gallon, I guess,
Right.
out there, so.
That's a good question.
Okay.
So what has been the feedback this year from users about the shortened, the 8-week season that we did this year? Did we get much feedback about ending mid-September? So we did have really nice weather up until like this last
Yes.
week. I don't know if there's a
The
way. to
gal who
capture-
answers our phone in the office would tell you it rang off the hook right after the restrooms closed a couple weeks earlier, and people were expressing displeasure. So I don't think it was not positive. We try to explain and we try to hope that people will be understanding. Some folks are more understanding than others, but I think the greatest amount of pushback was probably at the end of the season. And it's kind of like the pools. If you close the pools and it's 100 degrees out, it's not good. If it's 60 degrees out, you're a genius and you never know what the weather's gonna roll out. So we have a little bit of that.
Did that impact places like Plants Ferry then, where there's a lot of activity?
Plants Ferry is unique because we have a contract with the Youth Soccer Association. So that was not impacted.
Okay.
It's an exception to the rest of the parks. I think the campground ran a little bit longer too, again, related to the revenues. We've tried to look at that very closely. Otherwise, it's primarily the remaining parks and all the community parks where the restrooms close early and it was not very well received.
So that included Bear Lake, Liberty Lake.
Bear Lake, yes.
Bear Lake, yes. Liberty is part of the campground.
Oh, so it stayed open a little later. Is there any other? I noticed it said that you looked at on slide 10. You compared, City of the Valley parks, City of Spokane parks. City of Spokane provides a hybrid. Is that what you were kind of saying? If you bought back 2 weeks, if we extended to the end of September, would it be full service or just kind of? It would keep the restrooms open, is what you're saying.
Keep the restroom.
Okay.
It would be that entire table on slide 10 for 2 more things. It's restrooms, trash, hot water.
At the adjusted level.
Okay. Now, the restrooms are a big. I know we have to clean up the trash too, but the hybrid approach of not even opening the restroom doesn't necessarily, I think, solve a lot of the public needs.
They
Yeah.
will be open for that 16 weeks as we wind it out. So that is, again, we're trying to target that busiest time. But it honestly, September can be very, very busy depending upon the weather. So what helps is kids go back to school. But we just don't have an easy way to open them on the weekends and close them and that type of thing. It's kind of an all or nothing. We're up and running or we lock them down.
Just a reminder on this one, it would not have to be general fund to buy back. Legislature changed the REIT rules that any project that you could use REIT on the capital side, you can now use on the operation side. So you could choose to use REIT versus general fund. He also suggested maybe an Avista stadium contract, but there are some non-general fund revenue options here as you're making decisions down the home stretch.
Thank you for the updated information. Appreciate that. Appreciate you guys going back and taking a look at what other options were, so we can make better decisions.
We appreciate it, and hopefully this is a little bit easier to understand than our last one. So I
Yes.
enjoyed learning from other departments and really trying to package it in a way that would be more helpful.
Yeah.
So I hopefully we landed there, and we just appreciate your consideration, so thank you.
Just to confirm, commissioners are good with Doug's team moving forward with the elimination of that lease for washed-out property next to Gateway Park. That one has to be noticed to them by
End of the month.
end of the month.
And if you're comfortable, I would just bring it during a legislative, having briefed you on it a couple times now, if you're comfortable with that, or maybe I'll ask, would you like me to bring it back again, or can I just go straight to this? Okay, that was my thought, but I appreciate verifying that.
It's just part of what we have to do, and
It will be very helpful to the rest of the system.
That's not an official like rest area for washed out. They
It's
don't-
a former official rest area. They had eliminated it, which made it available for us to lease. And then we share that with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, you might recall, where they do a portion of that. And so we'll need to let them know as well that we'll no longer be doing this, that the lease is with DOT, but we share some stuff there, so we'll make sure to inform them as well. And then they'll have to decide what they do. Fish and Wildlife will have to decide whether they take up the slack and what we've been doing, or however they choose to do that with the transportation. We'll provide that notice, and we'll have some time to figure that out. Thank you. Listen in on your next phase, if that's okay.
yes, you may want to stay.
Moved at the end.
You're moving.
Otherwise, I might back to Tessa, but nothing you guys. This feels awkward. Bringing around the big paper.
Here, you wanna keep handing those ones out?
You can actually see the numbers.
I can't guarantee that, but this is as big as paper comes.
For our print, sure we could get bigger.
The bonding first.
No, we'll just start down the list and hit essentials as we hit them.
This is gonna talk through the capital sheet. Does go in alpha order by department, so if you ever looking for something, and this is like the kids' wish list. If it was put out there, it's on the list, and there's a lot more in requests than funding, but we didn't take any editorial privilege in leaving stuff out, so there's everything that's on the list.
On the list. And so Ron has it up on the screen, saved in your shared folder as well is all of the capital requests found by agencies. So starting animal control, there's a section for them, plus write-ups for each one of their requests. So if we get to a one and we need more detail, it's in the binder in your shared folder. There's also the Excel version of this spreadsheet saved in there, plus a second tab that's cleaned down a little bit for decision making in the future when we get there. Not necessarily today. We're just gonna kind of run through everything and see what additional questions we have to get familiarity with the whole thing.
One thing, the after project title, it does have year of project, so not all of these are a 26 ask. Some of them are out years as you look at.
Okay. Starting off at the top, we've got animal control, scraps. They submitted for a copy machine, some repairs to the crematorium, and then HVAC repairs, all in the 2026 year. Did speak a little with Gil about the HVAC repairs. He thinks 2 million is likely a little high for an estimate, but depending on the extent of the project, it could be a costly project.
Nothing adjusted. It doesn't have that.
It's not, facilities is still able to keep the HVAC system at scraps operational, so it is not to a point where facilities is getting concerned about needing to replace it more timely right now. So we do think there's some time to wait on that as far as decisions go for the immediate future. And then they've listed their concrete floor repairs, likely just resealing. After they've been there for a little over a decade now in that facility. The next request is for the auditor. It's for their records management system. That is also included in the IT budget. So we will wait and discuss it further there. Council for Defense submitted for their remodel and move to a larger space on campus to the tune of $4 million. Detention services is next, and we split detention services up by downtown jail and Geiger. So you could see the requests by facility, knowing that we have ongoing conversations for each facility. We started the capacity remodel conversation in 2025. That was a budgeted project that you funded. They gave a brief update on it this morning, but they've included it for carry forward in their capital plan to 2026. Not sure what it would include or kind of what would need to be done there.
I think it's what they shared this morning, it's closer to 1.7. And talking with Mike, he's gonna be finding that 1.7 because I think some of it may not be directly related to increased capacity downtown. So he's just gonna make sure they'll come when they come back next week, have to go through that actual or in-depth. What does 1.7 get with 34 beds? Is it really 1 million for 34 beds? So better insights next week to inform on that decision.
That's the 3 million.
That's a 3 million, yeah. It's just a carryover from this year, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I believe it is. Then they have requests for cameras, copy machines, lots of routine things, transport vehicles. Like they don't have one in 26, but then would ask for a larger sum in 2027. Not sure if that's just a bigger vehicle or a vehicle with more capacity, or if it's 2 vehicles in 1 year. The staff break room remodels, module remodels. As we know, we have not been able to do module remodels recently. Due to the time it takes to move kind of an entire floor or a wing needs to be vacated to be remodeled. It's challenging in our current environment. And then just various other things. The trash compactor, I know, seems to come up every so many years. The property carousel likely needs a large overhaul into the future. And then always on their wish list is the booking remodel.
How many copy machines are they replacing?
They've got a lot of copy machines in different locations throughout the facilities.
Okay, so.
I think there's, one in admin, likely one in the booking area. Probably one in the releasing area. I mean, I think they have a couple all over the facility and then more out at Geiger.
I suspect that's one a year,
Yeah.
at 25,000. Going rate of copier these days.
And the transport vehicles, do we know how many of those?
How many times have we rebuilt the carousel, the property carousel? I mean, it was not that long ago that I thought they put a new one in.
It's hard on it.
That's just wild.
Yeah.
Modeled the booking area a couple times.
It does not describe the number of vehicles for 2027. It only describes the wear and tear on the vehicles in their capital request. And then Geiger, lots of requests there. The 2026 request is related to the system and fire code updates. Over the course of the next 6 years, it was just shy of $3 million of requested capital for the Geiger facilities alone.
Fire good update goes away if we choose to close Geiger.
Correct. Yep. In theory, almost all of those costs would go away if you were to.
That's why it's part of that whole decision process, and we have to be looking at all of that to make these decisions.
And the city could require the upgrade at any time. Portions of it.
Alrighty, next on to facilities. As we know, we have the ongoing campus infrastructure improvements. That's about $12 million each year. We started in 25 for a $36 million big price tag that we are bonding for. Next on the list is campus remodels, specifically targeted at the Monroe Court building and getting space ready to consolidate prosecutor locations in that facility.
Other upgrades also there.
Yep, other HVAC.
HVAC, Such. About 2 million of as a prosecutor, 1.3 for other stuff.
This is one that we did have a brief conversation that we would maybe like to include this in our bond issue as an additional project. It can go right in line with the campus infrastructure improvements and just raise that price tag. If we'd like to, eligible to be funded by REIT, 1 or 2, just like the infrastructure improvements. So we would like to have consensus by the end of the day for the bond resolution that we'll be finalizing this week to bring next week to the board for briefing on the projects we'd like to include in that package. And so this $3.3 million
Could be added if you want to go more than 36 million. They keep cash flow for other purposes.
And this is carryover from also 25. We had the same amount
we started it.
for campus remodels. We anticipated some would be for Monroe Court and other needs, and haven't really spent much of that at all. So just a carryover.
That's
It was
within
REIT that was funded by.
some facilities were able to absorb in their budget this year, which is tapping into this. The things that we have done and so far.
So when I thought, I had heard that $2 million wasn't gonna be enough to get all the prosecutors, everyone moved over.
So these are what we're looking at, true statement.
So what is the real number?
It's
I guess that's what I just want to make sure we're working with real numbers, not numbers that are already outdated.
What we talked through with Preston and his team recently was how far 2 million could get them. If we're looking at phasing in the project, they're working with facilities on that response. Once we see that, what they're also looking at how they can scale down. Prosecutors also looking at how they could rearrange people to minimize any wall movement and really make it as affordable as possible. If we did everything busted out and make it perfect, it was 7, yeah, that's why. But we think we can bring it in for half of that. But we don't have that final number yet.
This. But you're anticipating this. I mean, that's why like I just kind of need to be realistic.
Well, we don't know what a real number is right now, because it depends on how much is done. How much of his team moves over there. If it's only focused on moving all employees out of Broadway Center building and utilizing as much of the as-built space today, space that is available on the third floor over there. Some of it's built out, some of it's not built out. So your cold shell space is going to be some of your most expensive stuff. I think $7 million is way on the high side. There's a lot of
Right.
additional contingencies built in that I think would be a lot less than that. So once we have a better number, we'll be able to update this sheet here, but we just don't know if it's going to be, if 3.3 would be sufficient or if there would be more needed.
So I guess as we look to use, look at bonding or, I mean, I don't even know what the plan is. What are we, means it looks like we'd like to see, at least I'd like to see like a kind of, how much is available, what are we putting there, and how does that free up space for other things? It's kind of like we haven't had that discussion, unless you guys have.
We're following the original at this point where it's consolidating the prosecutors from Broadway and public safety, the third floor Monroe Court. And then emptying Broadway by moving the district court portion to backfill the prosecutor space
In the public
in the
safety
public
building.
safety building. So we haven't factored that at all in with our dollar discussion here. And then at that point, the board could, you've talked about selling Broadway, you can follow through on that, or if you came up with a different plan around it, but that would get Broadway to a place where you can make a final decision on it. We've also talked about moving S&T prosecutors over to Monroe Court. Also, that probably will wait until the tenant on the third floor, that leases up, I think in 28 or 29. When that leases up, that's like another 5,000 square feet. And then the prosecutors would have the whole third floor at that portion. So the S&T is for financial purposes and timing of the vacancy on the third floor, that's been kind of pushed back this stage.
Guys, what are some of the driving factors on, I mean, we're hearing 3 million, 7 million, 10 million. I mean, where are we at there? What is the plan for the prosecutors? Are we talking, studs and drywall? Are we talking
The north side of the building
are we
is
vehicles? What are we looking at?
the north side of the building is more paint and carpet freshening.
Okay.
And then bringing some spaces together.
Okay.
That are currently individual spaces, you can flow between them. 8,000 square feet, I believe, on it'd be this corner that faces the courthouse, the southwest. It's just one big open space, so that would be, and that's a place where we can put a lot of the offices in that are needed. The main cost driver per GIL is when you're building out all the offices, you have to have that individual HVAC goes into each office space to control it. So if you have like a big open space cube farms with the airflow, much more affordable, but they need more offices for their work style and how they do it. So putting that HVAC into each office space, and then I know Kevin, I don't know how expensive it is to drop all the IT pieces in. But that's where that's, I think, more of a driver than putting up the walls themselves.
Can I ask, I mean, moving from, I mean, I know multiple places now, I think it's 5 different locations or something, there's some people from the prosecutor's office. Bringing them all together is the plan where more of them will have private offices with a door in the future, or less, or the equal amount moving over? From cubicle to private offices, more, the
Same
same?
Broadway Center, when I've toured, you have a lot of offices where 4 attorneys are sharing a space. So
Okay.
it is private and then you can close the door and keep it down to just 4 of us. Most attorneys, by nature of their work, need some private space. So I think there's more individual offices, if you think about the Broadway Center.
Yeah.
And shared office spaces going on there. Can you speak any more to that, Les?
No, I don't have details on that. And we've been working within the kind of space plan guidelines that has been informing on who goes into what. So I think people who are in cubicles are going to cubicles, people who are in offices are going into offices. That would be the plan over there.
Okay.
The front half of the building, the north half is pretty much offices.
Yeah.
And so the plans do put a cube farm in the middle of that big open space. But it still does put offices around the edge, as often plans do.
Yeah.
And wherever you put them, you have the HVAC issues.
And then the front middle, or the south middle top floor is where they had an atrium at one point in time and they covered it up.
Yeah.
Just say it's not in good shape. It's cold space, it's not temperature controlled. They don't have individual HVAC. It is outside of just having literally a wall going around it.
Yeah.
That has to be.
Well, yeah, I think it was an outdoor space. Yeah, it was open to the elements.
So they're
Yeah.
closed, but there's no
Closed
climate
in.
control
Correct.
inside.
Yeah.
Then the other probably bigger expensive paid space, but small, is where they get off the elevator just for control of people and access. Maybe like going to the ME's office or over to the IT office where, there'll be a plexiglass window, just control for who gets in, who doesn't get in, moving that space out for security. I have big blueprints on my desk. If anyone wants to come see them. Lots of different options.
So unfortunately, we don't have a number. I know that we're wanting to make decisions on how much to bond on. And an option is the amount that will increase the bond is X dollars and that will be your budget. And as far as it goes, that's how far it goes. That's kind of what we've been trying to keep them in today is like, hey, we had $3.3 million that the commissioners approved for campus remodels this year. Early on in the year, we said, all right, let's try to get by with 2 with the prosecutor's office, see what you guys can do with 2. It's like 2's not going to get as far as we'd like it to be. So, we could say 3 and that is it. So figure out if that's only enough to get Broadway Center building over there. Those employees that are over there, then that's what it would have to be. So I don't think we'll have a revised, better couple different option numbers. And again, these are super high level design costs just based on some CAD drawings of floor plan space and then some estimates of cost. We have not had any sort of third party architectural design plans done because we don't want to do that. We want to use our in-house people to try to firm up a proposed plan before we go and design and bid it out for work.
And that is only Monroe Court building. So if we move the prosecutor out of a public safety, at this point, we don't have any funding to change that space. So
For district court.
So that'd be the next. Whatever happens with the space. And once we find somebody who can use it as is.
Which also feeds into the district court the traffic court that's out in the valley, which is used, it looks like a couple times a week. Over in the Broadway Center building, so. Then we have to have district court weigh in on what their need would be if there is a need to do any remodel work over at public safety building.
Any courtrooms and public safety buildings that aren't used by district court?
Are there any?
Yeah.
I don't have a view of their court schedule. Regular basis. There
Any
are days-
other levels of court that are utilizing our courtrooms over there?
Oh, not
Superior
public
Court
safety,
does.
not public safety.
No.
In
Superior
the
Court
annex.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
We have
understand
rooms
what you're
on,
saying.
we have courtrooms on our
Yes.
campus that we need it. I think we could probably use.
So you're suggesting that I mean, if we're gonna go out to bond on the major infrastructure improvements, I mean, you're suggesting that maybe we include some of the road court remodel.
Mhm.
But you don't know what that dollar amount is, or,
We won't know until we get some, the plans updated based on what the prosecutor's office and facilities talked about. So they can give a better estimate of those costs. And then, it could come back and say, in order to move everyone, it could be, let's just say, call it $6 million. That may be more than the commissioners want to commit to that project, and so that our alternative plan is, okay, what about just getting out of BCB? So the intent would be we'd have two numbers to be able to look at and provide back to you all. I don't think there's a third that I'm aware of.
There'd just be, to me at this point, it's either just clearing down to BCB. And then you could sell or do whatever you're gonna do with the building.
then use that to help.
That could be some more funding. That could be funding to go towards the empty space in this public safety building. But we know 2 million is not gonna be enough. I mean, 3 is gonna get you a lot further than 2, of course.
And spend the 3.3
Yeah.
on that facility between the
Yeah.
prosecutor and other HVAC repairs and other things. The 3.3 would be spent and we would not think.
And you could, as much as you put in the bonding, we go that far, and then at that point, if you wanted to put additional REIT or other dollars into it, you could, as it gets further along and we have more finely tuned cost estimates.
So that's part of the analysis is how much does an additional dollars of bonding cost? And what does that look like? Because that's gonna come out of REIT.
So come out of REIT
So,
too.
so I mean, so you kind of have to know what those numbers are. And in my mind, it's not. I would like to know what it really costs to, and not 7 million, but what do we think that a good number is to move everybody there? And then remodel the public safety building, because that has to be done in order for us to get the other building ready to sell.
To that point too, so we
It's
moved,
kind of being partial with it, and not doing the whole
if
thing.
everybody from Broadway moves over, and then you said when another lease is up, it opens up another, however, and is that something we'd want to bond out now, or how many years down the road are we thinking?
That'd be too far
So
down
we
the
wouldn't
road
bond it
for
out
that.
today, so but also, keeping in mind, we're gonna get hit with that cost then too, down the road, but all needed, it's all needed, the Broadway, I think we still also keep in mind, we have a great opportunity to sell that building, which then we could roll into some of these expenses to help cover these costs. S&T, we're not getting anything.
Right.
But let's just be honest, nobody's gonna buy that.
If we want to sell,
Yeah.
can sell Broadway,
Yeah.
then it could go to cover the costs.
So for that move, yeah.
And these are all just hypotheticals. We might get a 28 and and the tenant in there right now might want to stay in there. They might ask us to do a new lease. So we might want that revenue because it's There's no other funds that we've got to be able to remodel that. So there's a lot of moving parts. It's hard to really bake something into here without the knowns. Yes, if we presume that we're going to need to build another district court in the location that the prosecutors is in the public safety building, we should put something on here relative to that in probably a 27 time frame thereabouts. So we could certainly put a placeholder in here for that cost estimate.
It's been a couple of years, but when this whole thought process started in the early phases of even thinking about buying Monroe Court, when I talked to the then district court presiding, the comment at that point in time was they didn't think they actually needed another courtroom. They needed some more. The preference, and that person was speaking for themselves, not the whole bench. But in that person's opinion, a large conference room, some additional office space would be actually more valuable to their workflow than more courtrooms. So who knows what they're actually gonna feel they need when the opportunity, if the opportunity comes to design that space. Yeah, we started with just gills. It's gonna be X dollars per square foot. That's an average. And I'd say we're one step past that now, where we do have an internally designed, well, multiple internally designed options. And they've honed it down a little bit better. We're just early on in the process. So we don't have more specific numbers. We just know 2 million is not enough and 7 million is too much for our reality.
And designs meaning just literally a floor plan with drawn out locations for offices and cubicles. That's as much as we've got as far as we say design.
I would be open to bundling that cost with our next bond sale, if that just gets it moving. I mean, we've owned that building for over a year now, right? I mean, it's like, let's get rolling on this. I mean, we knew the plan. I'll let the folks that are more experts on the design and architecture and where the IT cords need to be dropped and HVAC, I mean, I'll let you guys beat that up, but if there's any way to get it and bundle it with our next sale, I mean, I'd say let's go for it. Let's just get moving on that.
Yeah, because initially we were using ERP dollars. But we're using the rest of our ERP dollars for the
Close to buy.
software.
Yeah, now we're shifting that to the
Yeah.
IT
So-
side.
So that's not available, so then it's gonna have to come out of REIT.
Hmm.
But I, since it's a bondable item,
We have a third nod here. We're looking at.
I think
Well,
I'd still like you to come back with.
I get that, but so make sure we have 3 people interested in even us getting that info to come back.
Yeah, I think we should bundle it, at least up to a certain dollar amount, because I mean, if we're gonna go out. We should do it.
We'll get
Pay
the
it
different
back.
price points from Scott Bauer.
Right, because that's what.
It may
we
not
say, so what is
cover-
it now? What
We have a
would
call
it
with
be?
them tomorrow morning.
The nice thing with that approach is this 3.3 in 2025 had been targeted to come out of REIT. So even if it's a little bit more, and we've bonded as part of a 30-year, well, it makes REIT go a lot farther, even though there will be a higher debt service coverage.
30 or 20 year.
20, sorry, I was confusing the Shrek. Yeah, over 20 years, so is there an up to amount that the board would want us to
I think
consider?
we gotta figure out.
You gotta look at the debt payment,
What we have available and all that. I don't know what another $4 million does.
In terms of the debt service.
We'll get that number for you.
Okay. All right,
And then I'd like to jump ahead on one thing just to continue bonding. Especially when we have Doug in the room. The other thing that we've highlighted as a possibility, depending on the board's direction for bonding, would be the golf maintenance shed.
That's on the very last page.
That could be very long.
So they have a request then of 400,000 of REIT for the Liberty Lake golf range, the net needs to be raised because bonehead kids are hitting it over.
$900,000 project, the last one in the Liberty Lake. Meadowood Golf section.
So there's 400,000 there, and then at the top of it's the 4,027,000 is where it's listed. That, we feel a lot of or the goal of all of it would be to actually pay that through their golf fees, their account. So they have a little less impact on REIT for the payback of it. But is that something you guys would like to? That's the other large ticket item that we've identified for the bonding discussion.
And I think I brought that up when Doug was talking about, just because it's a big capital item that is bondable, because it's a capital item. And so I guess. Again, we gotta look at what does that mean on REIT versus the
We have
capital.
about 3.5 million in fund balance. And so, it could be a partial. You could look at it not hitting REIT, having their golf fund.
Make the
fees and
debt
others,
service
Make the
payment.
debt service payment. It could be part REIT, part golf fund, so a lot of different ways. That could be stacked. If 85% of the money needs to be spent
Within 3 years.
so they start in 27, it should hit timeline.
Or they might be able to progress it.
We can certainly look at potentially starting, yes. That could be very awesome.
So I think you need to come back with a proposal for us.
Happy to do one, didn't want to put everybody through the work of that if there was no interest in it, from the concept. But if we have 3 votes for that, we'll put that together too.
So, I mean, partly we gotta look at the proposal as to, adding it to it, what's that cost? And, because there's an interest cost to it. On all these, which is why we gotta analyze it. But then what does it look like? Can golf, provide? Well, some of the debt service, or is it gonna have to be a combination? Because I think we're thinking this was gonna come out of REIT, or at least part of it was coming out of REIT, so I think we need to look at what those options are.
I think one of the good things is the way Doug plans with his golf, with the golf fund. He's looking long-term. He's looking at what the capital needs are, because they're planning for those out of the golf fund, trying to rely less and less on REIT. And if he knows there's going to be a debt service payment as opposed to spending all of the reserves down, he can look and say, what does the projected needs in the golf fund as far as rate increases are each year to be able to continue supporting debt service. So it could be planned and built in for a longer term, for a 20-year payback on a $4 million capital item versus an upfront cash out. That also leaves some availability for, then we've got the bridge out at Latah Creek that also is going to need some repairs. There's a couple of them in there.
Yeah, I'd be interested in looking at like a spreadsheet where you have all these different pieces of what would be in the potential bond, what would be the total interest payments, and then how we would be, the debt service from the different sources, right? The REIT and golf fund. I think it makes sense to leave more REIT than have some flexibility in the future, right? With REIT dollars for these other projects, smaller, large cap.
I don't see us going out and selling bonds in the future for, really anything else here.
Horizon.
So so it's kind of like, this is the opportunity to put some of that that way.
Well, those are the two big ones that identified. We'll do the work and then work with. Both. Parts. So. Move that back. Very soon because we have to get some decisions.
We'll give bond council a heads up to draft this into language.
Well, they can always draft
The
a
resolution's due Wednesday.
high amount,
For the up to.
you know, you can draft
Yes.
a higher amount to
Yes.
go under it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just because, I mean, that's what we did.
Yep.
Yep, it was much higher amount than what we get bonded.
Exactly. Just to hit that high water mark is kind of what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Bond resolution was due today. Comments were due.
Comments are due today.
Okay. Is
We
that,
scheduled a call with them tomorrow morning to,
so yeah,
Yeah,
we
project
can,
list.
the bond resolution really has in there a lot of things, but one of it is how do you intend to use the dollars? What are you gonna be buying? So we need to broaden it a little bit to include a potential maintenance facility and we kind of got pretty broad on-campus stuff already, so I don't think we probably need to do anything differently for Monroe Court, but
Maybe for the golf.
for the
golf, yeah. So.
Okay, back to page 2.
at the top. Facilities, they also have lots of requests. A lot of it's just kind of awareness that in the future we'll need to look at elevator rebuilds, roof replacements for most of our on-campus facilities. In 2026, you are doing some historical courthouse repairs. There is matching funds from our grant for the tower replacement out of hotel, motel. No, historical preservation funds.
It's $500,000, right?
$500,000, yep. And most of the rest of these can wait, they just needed to be on the radar for the future. Going down the list, Fair and Expo.
So we have a designated, source for some of the historical.
Yes, we do.
Do we need to put that in here then? Special revenue?
Yes, yeah.
I just wanna make sure we're accurate, cause this is important. We have a good.
And it's
Yeah, the
better on the
key.
second decision one. Once we get two versions going, it gets us a little.
We'll
get that
have,
cleaned up.
in this one, we'll have 500 under special revenue,
Yeah.
which is essentially where we have those funds coming through and then to the extent that we're successful, I don't think we're back on the grant yet, have we?
Thanks.
Once we hear back on the grant,
Yeah.
we'll fill in the remainder in the grant and then if there's a delta, we'll have to solve on that one.
We cannot use REIT funds to demolish the building out there.
Not.
I'm asking, I'm assuming you can't.
I don't,
Probably, I don't know.
Look
If
into
it's
that.
as part of constructing a new building, perhaps, but maybe not just for the purpose of demolition. We'll look at it.
Yeah.
What the definition of REIT.
We at least buy the matches.
Having a pyrotechnic today.
Yeah. To help our firefighters.
I do love that concept of the firefighters, that is a good one. So, Fair did request, I believe, some REIT funds for the primary switch, so that 250,000. Hasn't been decided on yet, but they would like to target some REIT funds. That was from their budget presentation the other week.
Well, and again, isn't that part of what we're doing with the. Yeah, what we're bonding with the county, because we're doing all our switch upgrades
For on campus,
on campus, yes.
yes. We could add that $500,000 in.
So I mean, to me, that's another one that's just all part of that same, or entire electrical system stuff. I don't know, I'm just kind of looking at possibilities and we may come back down, but it's like at least. But that's what we're primarily saying, using the bonds for.
Correct, yeah.
The other Fair next one, 26 is from their fund.
Yes, yep, their special revenue is all their fund.
Great.
Information technology, we'll go over this briefly. We do have a whole extra separate sheet. It's Jeff's colorful sheet for some IT stuff. And we have Kevin here to help answer any questions if we get past our technical debt on this projects. So we have the auditor recording software replacement. That's about $600,000 for an initial cost. Tech imagery software. Looks like that's an ongoing or a several year cost. Juvenile case management software replacement. At this point, this project has also been requested by the juvenile department. That's why it's in green. And I think it's not quite ready for prime time in 2026, likely pushing to 2027. Prosecutor case management software replacement, also known as Carpel. We've got more detail on that here in a minute for Jeff's sheet. The pretrial software replacement, that again isn't quite ready for prime time at this point. We think we can push that to 2027 as well. Aaron Stromberger is looking at options and talking with his peers across the state on what will likely work best for us. Some physical software server replacements for IT. That's kind of an annual cost. Some campus switch replacements. Annual cost, but not electric switch gears. They're fancy tech IT switch things. So very different than what we're doing for the power on campus. Cabling always needs to be updated. The large Aumentum project, we'll bring that on the next big IT sheet for the assessor treasurer system. Router replacement, and then some out year projects, just for awareness for upcoming IT costs.
Yeah, and on the cabling, is that mostly fiber optic?
Yes.
Okay, throughout the campus and other locations too?
Yeah, our network costs.
Yes.
Alrighty, move on to juvenile. They have a couple different projects here. You've seen them for several years. They're repeated, like the lobby security remodel. The top project on the list here is the detention youth showers. In 2024, you started a project in juvenile to replace all the flush valves on the toilets in the individual cells. That project has been greatly successful. And then in 25, you continued to fund improvements to the kitchen and a very teeny tiny closet bathroom remodel at juvenile. Those two projects have come in under budget. So they do have available capital resources left in 2025 that would cover this youth shower update that is top on their list. So if you were,
Why do we do that?
would you be okay with funding it in 25 and just starting the project now?
If they have the capital funds to do it,
Yeah.
because other things came under budget, I would just have them.
We just want to pass.
We just wanted to
Yes,
make sure we,
yes.
yeah, kind of ran it through. You want? Two,
Yes.
third,
Yeah. Three.
thank you.
Count to three.
They'll be very happy to do that. So thank you. All the rest, most of the rest are in 26. Moving on to parks. We organized the parks projects this year by park to try to hopefully track our eyes a little bit better, just for some different organization. The experts are in the room if we have any very pointed questions for them.
Questions, ask them.
We did leave the option on here to fund up to $2.4 million of operations from REIT. As we know, in order to fund something from REIT, it has to be on our 6-year CIP. So that is why we've listed it. So we have the option to stay in compliance with.
And roughly 35% of REIT that's allowed to be used for this. That just gives you the option you so chose. Any questions on particular park projects?
We do also have in here the funds for Plants Ferry, the $1 million matching the state grant from hotel motel tax this year. We gave $1 million out of car rental in 2025.
The state grant, we call it $1 million, actually $170. We see that listed under grants.
Madam Chair. So does Parks have like a prioritized list? Cause I know this is
It's
all.
a mem binder, in this PDF binder, yeah.
You just
so-
have it broken out by park here.
Yes,
But it's in there.
it's in here as prioritized, yep.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Is there a requirement with new developments? That if they develop a park, it has to be transferred to the county? As part of the plat?
We've been able to, right, park, avoid that.
Yeah.
My understanding, not as costs.
If they turn it over to an HOA and let the HOA manage it.
I think we've turned down a lot of requests from HOAs that have wanted us to assume ownership and operation of their things. And
We don't want to do that. No.
we're just trying to position it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I've got under Pine River Park playground replacement. I thought that equipment is fairly new, the playground that's there. The blue and white sort of metal structure, I mean, that's fairly new, isn't it?
I think that's projected for 2031. The replacement, so we're looking way
Okay.
ahead there,
Okay,
if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
And that one, we have special servicing because of the frequent flooding that occurs there.
okay.
And so I'm guessing that, I'm sure plays into that as well.
So is it the rubber surface that's replaced or the actual
It'd be the whole thing.
equipment? The
I believe
equipment
it'd be
too,
the whole kit caboodle, all of it as a package.
okay?
Do we need to replace the equipment? The kids will be grown and gone by that time.
Great style.
Guys, we want to set it on fire.
Just saying.
Any other park questions?
There was the Camelot Park. What's the need for a restroom there? I mean, that's a park that I would assume is primarily used for the folks that live, I mean, it's in a very densely populated neighborhood. I would assume the majority of the folks live in the surrounding houses. I mean, most of them are gonna be within walking distance of their homes. I mean, why would we put I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Is that a destination park or is that primarily used by the folks that live around it?
The community park, I think it may be the only one that doesn't have a restroom in our entire system.
Okay,
Those that live closest to it would be very happy not to have it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to encourage folks from other neighborhoods to
Yeah.
enjoy the community park.
yeah.
So if you're,
I would think that the majority of the folks using the park, I mean, they're within walking distance of their own homes that have bathrooms.
those that
like-
live there would like it to stay that way.
Yeah.
But we do design these to serve generally within 3 miles. It's or so,
Okay,
travel time on a bicycle or what have you for kids, and again, it's we. Yeah,
okay,
depending on where we're at, I think that's another one that we projected out a couple of years from now.
Yeah.
I think we have some other just more safety related improvements we're hoping to do shorter term with some of the retaining walls and that sort of thing. At the site, but. When we've gone through the planning process, others in the community would very much like to see a restroom there, but those living across the street would be happy.
okay.
Alrighty, and then on the last page, we have the sheriff's requests. Valley vehicles funded by the city of Spokane Valley, they'd like to purchase $520,000 worth of cars. We do have patrol vehicles submitted by the sheriff's office for $650,000 in 2026. An increased amount in 27 and beyond. And then the RMS software, which we will come back to on this IT packet as well. But that is the records management system. And the sheriff had all of these on their presentation from a couple weeks ago. And then Superior Court would like 3 to 4 courtrooms. So that's just the big list for awareness. Like I said, all the details are in that PDF in your shared folder. And then you want to back this down on that phone.
Guys have seen this sheet before, has been updated. Kevin's here to answer all your questions. So this was at the 35 million bonding rate. You'll see the red line across the middle of the paper, that 2,794,000. That is your debt service, 35 million 20-year term. So we'll get some more round options on that, but that's from Scott Bauer. This is talking about technology funding. So in the yellowish box under technology funding, you'll see the Aumentum software, assessor treasurer at 11.7 is their best estimate right now. That dovetails a little bit with the recording software from the auditor at 600 for an install. Carpel, we're looking at 650 to get it up and going. The defenders and CFD let us know on Friday. They also just met with Carpel. This morning, let us know they're gonna look at some other competitors just to see what else is out there.
I would like for them to really look at Carpel if the prosecutor is going with Carpel as well. That would make sense.
So they let us know they're interested in updating their technology also. Blank at this point just because we don't have price points yet. So as soon as we get that, we can do that. The e-discovery is on the public records office. And then the RMS that we just spoke to. So without the defendant being added in, you're looking at about 14 million there, and that is your install process, getting up and going. So that should also include extra help that might be needed to get it up and going. Down at the bottom, well, the very bottom in purple, we're suggesting the due license fee that will come in through the auditor's office as a potential funding source. When Auditor Dalton talked with us about the recording software and including it with Aumentum, her one request was, I'm bringing in the fee, the auditor's office lobbied for it. Could I get enough to cover my software over the first year? I thought that was a valid ask for her to make of the board. It's also what kind of plugged into our mind a new revenue source to cover the new costs of software. Because in addition to the one-time setup cost, and one time can be a year or longer, as you all know, with ERP being a multi-year process. At the very bottom, you'll see, like after the 600,000 for the recording software, there's about a $75,000 annual maintenance fee. We always hear a 3 to 5% escalator on them, so we put 4 in for all of them. With Aumentum, if we started it in 26, we probably would not be paying an annual fee until 28, because when you're still in the installation process, you don't start paying until you're and completely installed on your own. So $625 a year with a 4% escalator in the out years for Amentum. Same thing with Carpel, RMS, and eDiscovery. Those would be the ongoing annual costs. Now, today on some of these, we do have a cost. We're already paying for the service. eDiscovery is a new item, but the rest of them is not. That 605, 1.2, 1.3 million, those aren't all new additional costs. We need to kind of true out what the additional cost is. But you could see where the new license fee at $1 million annually, you know, it could cover the recording software in 26. And but going in 27 and on, you'd pretty much be eating that up in your ongoing costs. This whole chart, you'll see at the top, back up where it says REIT. We combine them because they can be used for the same. You see our, in 26, we have a 13.3 million fund balance. We're expecting about 3.5 million each for a total of 7 million in REIT in 26. We have some out year increases factored in. Under the expenditure section, you see all of the current debt service, and you see little R1, R2 off on the left-hand side, let you know whether it's a REIT 1 or a REIT 2, even though they combined them. For usages, we still have to account for them separately on the accounting side. If you were to do the 35 million campus infrastructure, at just shy of 2.8 million a year in debt service. And then in the green, if you were to spend 4.5 million a year on REIT projects, whatever you chose, but if that was your total, you see how back to the top, the fund balance does go from over 13 to just over 2.2 in 2031. So it would be spending down. We might come in at a higher level in the future if interest rates drop significantly. A lot of refinancing brings in REIT, just as regular home sales do. But those are our assumptions in here to show you at 35 million, what that does to everything. To pay, if you're to do this whole $14 million package as listed, we do have the roughly $10 million from all of our ARP adjustments at year end. There's $10 million still there. That is, it's general fund today with all the things we did at year end. But that is separate from, in addition to the $35 million fund balance that we talked about. We were asked to keep that pot separately. You as a board wanted to know how you had spent all of the ARP. The additional capacity that came from it. So if you did that, if you paid for the license fee out of the $1 million, or you put the whole $1 million in here, not just 600,000, you're looking at 3 million to 3.4 million of fund balance. Is the other, unless you looked at other revenue options, such as a road shift or other, other tax increase. Which to date, we've not seen a lot of interest in. So that's why we put it as general fund balance. Big pause.
Big breath.
Well, I think what I'd like to see is a placeholder for public defender. We're to kind of.
At this point, I think we put in just the same as prosecutor. Unless Kevin has a better.
I don't have any information on that. I did sit in on the presentation. I hadn't sat in on the prosecutor's presentation prior. I think there's a lot of integration connectivity between those two. It looks familiar. I went back and looked through the documentation I had for a prosecutor. Looked very similar, I thought. So I think that's a fair assumption to do that.
So with that, we're up to about 14.7 million.
Doing them both at the same time, great stress on my staff. Because that's 2 implementations for 1 support group in our office. We do want to include part of the cost that we've factored in here is vendor support for integrations, but still, it's gonna be a lot of stress on our current staff to do 2 implementations at once.
The 650 does include, as you just said, some vendor support, additional bodies on the ground to make it work.
So when does any of this feed into, if it's prosecutors and public defense, is it feeding into the court system? So what does it do with the court system?
It integrates just like our current systems that we build in-house integrate with the court systems now.
Court system need to be looking at a different system since
Well,
we're.
When you say court system there, that's a big broad term. There's Odyssey, which is statewide
Right.
information.
We can't do that.
We have to connect to that.
But I've talked to judges, they've talked about that they have all these homegrown systems. And it's hard to coordinate all that, but they've got to be coordinating that with the public defense
These,
and the
like with-
prosecutors, so.
Like with Carpel, many of our homegrown systems go away with Carpel. At least a dozen systems will be replaced. Or will just vanish because Carpel has the capability to do the functionality of what those systems currently do.
It's like it's like
Case
case management, but also discovery materials, right? That the prosecutor and the defenders both need access to and. Anyway, so, but yeah, to your point, I wonder if there's some other court systems though.
Right, because what I don't
Between
want is
district and
everyone doing
superior
a
that
different
are-
system that they don't talk to each other.
Well, that's part of what the integration component of this is that it's not just standing up Carpel. Carpel has a price to stand that up and it's not that much. But to integrate it with all the other things that are still going to have to work that our staff here at the county uses from the applications that we use. Several of the applications will be consumed by Carpel, but there will still be other applications that we'll have to integrate Carpel with, or we'll have to integrate them with Carpel.
So I guess in some ways do have a flow chart as to how that looks.
Oh, we're working on that with juvenile.
Okay. Because I mean, what I don't want is to have us spend a whole bunch of money on one system for one department that doesn't work with another system from another department. So if somehow the public defenders don't like Carpel, that gets trickier.
That's my concern as well.
Yes, so I mean, I think
That's,
we have to
it
really
makes complete sense
be talking.
to potentially, I don't know I can't tell the public defender what to do. But it would make a lot of sense if,
Well, we can
can.
tell
Yeah.
people what to do with their budget.
um,
Like they may not get budget for 2026 if they don't all agree to.
and it depends on what the other systems do. There may be other systems that tie into Carpel or tie into our current systems that we have that work really well.
But
And they might be more affordable. We don't know yet because we haven't seen those. That's why I think it's public defenders out there ways. And 2027 is as early as we can do anything.
And is Carpel the best system for everybody?
It's the best system for the prosecutor, I believe.
Didn't Preston say that sheriff's office has a Carpel software? It's has different uses but related, right?
Modules for all phases of justice.
So we already have,
No, we don't have any yet.
oh,
But they do have a Carpel module for sheriff as well.
I thought.
Maybe
that-
they just.
Well, that's Axon. Okay, sorry. Oh my gosh. Way too many.
Which is still not RMM, which is a timely project as well. But we gotta make sure it's Together.
Oh, yeah, this is a big decision point, for sure.
And to add to that, I think Carpel for the prosecutor's office, I mean, the logic of that is kind of eliminating certain staffing positions, and I think that was going to offset costs, I think maybe to the tune of around $20,000. So I think long term, it's gonna save the county money and reduce staffing as well. So.
I believe that was included in the prosecutor's presentation to the commissioners. Yep.
What is the board looking for as far as starting to pull a trigger or not on technology? Is there more information that's needed? Like, are we ready to say yes to Aumentum and reporting? Need more on the rest? Do you want to wait and do everything as a package? We have the RMS piece that's also, I think, highly critical. Scott knows more about that than I do. Just want to,
Sorry, remind me the RMS. is
So RMS is the records management system. That's what it stands for, that law enforcement uses throughout the county.
Oh,
Right now, we're on a Tyler product. And that's for both the RMS and CAD.
oh, right.
Shrek is moving to Hexagon. And there's what's referred to as a core group. It's law enforcement individuals across the county that are part of they call it core. And they evaluate technology needs, and they've evaluated the Hexagon product for RMS and believe that's the best choice for a number of reasons. One of them is integration, because when a call comes into 911, the call receiver is entering information into the record to the CAD system, and having a platform that syncs up with that record, those records populate into the RMS system, so it doesn't have to be keyed in. So the core group has evaluated RMS. They've had some road shows or whatever they call. They've seen it from the vendor, and that's what their recommended choice is. That is a $2.8 million purchase, which is including sales taxes. And there is the way it gets broke up that the team has done historically is based on utilization of the system on a records basis. That would determine how much capital you as a jurisdiction would have to contribute. And the amount for the sheriff's office, just sheriff, is about $1 million of that 2.8. That would be the allocation to it. So that one is timely because CAD goes live in end of March, and there's going to be a period of time where information is not transferred over automatically. So they're going to their law enforcement officers have to key that information in. So having the Hexagon RMS decision made and implemented so that they minimize that window is pretty key.
So we really don't have a choice on that.
Yeah, there's always a choice.
I mean,
Yeah, for efficiency's sake, utilizing technology for its intended purpose, it would be the right thing to do. And law has been historically very dissatisfied with the Tyler, the product they have right now.
Can I ask a question? Kevin, you talked about if the prosecutor and the public defender both were implementing Carpel at the same time, that would cause problems. If just one were to implement it, is the current system in Carpel able to communicate, or is it gonna create problems with it not
That's what
being?
integration does.
You are able to do
Yeah, we
that.
would have to build that.
Okay.
There'd
And
be
it's
some
easier,
overlaps, but
it's easier to build something to make them talk than to implement them both at the same
Well,
time.
we're just implementing two different. We have 4 staff on that team.
Okay,
4.
okay.
That's it. They're gonna be overwhelmed just doing one implementation at one time.
Okay.
And maintaining systems, all the other systems that we have for all the justice departments we have here at the county. It's just too much of an ask.
Okay.
To do both at the same time, unless we had a collaborative single implementation, maybe it takes longer. But that could potentially work if we could get those 2 groups to work together, if they both decide to go with the same platform.
Okay.
And the same platform means a prosecutor module and a public defender module, separate modules that would have different implementation components.
Okay.
But if that can all be done in one large implementation, I don't know if that's possible or not, but it's something to think about. But just today, we did get note from, Air Support Defense that they've found 3 more systems that they would like to look at besides carbon. So that's where we stand on that. So I
Without
think,
knowing any pre-built data transfer integrations that could already exist in any of those systems, wouldn't know until Kevin's team is able to do that analysis.
Thank you.
Oftentimes when technology has been out on the shelf for a while, there's enough other competing product that those companies have built ways to send and receive data already. But if it's newer, it's one of its newer versions of it may not have built it. Can I?
Can I just get the time frame then for the for the RMS? What is the time frame for when the CAD system will go online and when this would need to be done?
End of March for CAD. And I believe, have to go back and look at this. If the interlocals have to be developed with every jurisdiction to commit to the capital side. That takes some time, but let's just say it's a couple of months to do it. I think the target for an RMS from RMS implementation was the entirety of 26, so maybe into 27. Is that
That rings a bell, and there's
end of 26?
while Shrek is already implementing Hexagon CAD, the team is mobilized to start on the Hexagon RMS, and so it
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
makes sense to keep the momentum going in that regard.
So that one is you know, it has to be a decision point by a number of entities who are part of this, and each of them have to look at their capital and see what their ability is to fund it, because that's gonna be Liberty Lake, Cheney, Airway Heights,
Kalispell tried.
Kalispell Tribe, yep.
City of Spokane
know.
Valley.
See Spokane Valley, don't think it's the airport, I think they're on their own.
They're on there.
And then medical like Deer Park and the smaller jurisdictions are underneath the county, so that's the decision point for you all. For their work. So. You know, we're at 3:30. I just want to summarize some things, observations I see on here, Jeff, and for the rest of the board. This sheet here presumes the current debt service for the 35 million. Doesn't presume that any additional bundling of projects has been reflected there, so that has to be updated. The 3.3 or whatever the amount is, let's just call it 4 million for MCB. That's obviously going to increase this and take away from more capacity. Golf course has to a decision point on whether you want that to be completely funded by golf fund or partially funded by REIT. There's 4.5 million in just placeholder annual REIT funded projects, right? Just placeholder right now. We know up here, if you added Carpel for prosecutor, well, we believe if you added in for public defender, we're closer to about 14.7. Okay, so that would show then a need of non-identified funds of about a little over $4 million for the technology, post-technology purposes. So 4.5 of assumed uses, 4 million of identified technology needs, and some potential use of REIT for Parks M&O. I summarize that. And then the three
possible money could be Shrek T.
Yeah. And then just for you, Tess, I just wanted to confirm the 3.3 million in infrastructure campus remodels.
Yes.
Is that in the almost $12 million projected for 25? Or
Believe we left it in there.
okay, so if the board wants to bond that, 3.3 million will come out, which increases our plus balance in there.
what our level of reserves are.
35 million.
Okay.
In the,
That's all I need.
Completely unrestricted.
Yes,
and it will probably actually, we're not spending down in this year's budget.
we are gonna do the liability
Oh, we did.
4
Oh,
million
that's-
funding.
I thought 35 was included in that.
That's after that.
Yeah, 35 is after the 4 million.
Yes.
We're
Because we
actually,
need to do a budget amendment this year to pay the liability fund.
you're actually in the 39 range, taking out the 4 million for liability, takes us to 35. Your 25 budget had assumed spending 2 million of reserves, which because sales taxes come in, we're at 3 point higher than we expected. You will not realize that reduction this year. The sales tax is coming in right at about the 2 million.
Fund balance will be higher
Correct.
because
You
we
don't take it out.
budgeted for that, but we didn't take it. So.
There, say, there may be, I've heard a couple of jurisdictions ask, is the county going to bond or finance the RMS project? And my off the cuff was, well, the commissioners are considering how to solve on the $1 million for the county. But there may be an ask by some of the jurisdictions if we, the county, the board would be willing to front the 2.8 million and then through interlocal agreements get reimbursed over a period of time. I'm just anticipating that might come through as an ask.
But the RMS system is a software system. It really isn't.
Not bonding. I said we can't bond it, but through our own funds in some fashion, whether it's
Prepay.
treasurer loan, whether it's a general fund, reserves, that sort of thing, so that it helps them with their cash flows. Like I said, I've only had a couple that's raised it.
Our finance committee meeting soon, so I can, let's make sure we bring it up to the finance committee, because it really is on the treasurer. I would say that would be the treasurer of the jurisdictions.
I think it could be a nice little option if the treasurer would consider it for them to do that loaning, and then we just stay on the middle of it.
And that was my first choice.
Yep. I think it'd be good to advocate for it if that's what a desire is for the town, for the cities. Alright.
Okay, is there anything else?
Miscellaneous item for you.
So could I just, to circle back, when we get an updated. So when you're creating the spreadsheet for the potential bond projects and where the debt service would come from. Can we get this updated then to maybe take out some of the golf debt service, right?
Yeah, we can.
And then you'll-
Some options in there.
This is a good exercise, a lot to just.
It's just a lot.
A lot of digest.
But I mean, the most important decision that we have to make soon is about going out for the bond and how much we wanna.
To amount.
I mean, some of the stuff we need to start moving some of these projects along, the technology projects, but. We have a little more time to figure.
Bonding decision will inform.
Right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been suggested that, well, based on the information we got 2 weeks ago with regard to the changing in timelines for the military and PFAS mitigation, that we make a request for the Department of Defense to maintain their funding for this current effort with regard to Fairchild. And we'll also send a similar letter to our congressman to see if he will also submit a letter to Department of Defense. But basically, this letter just a request the Department of Defense stays on their current or their previous timeline. And with regard to mitigation, which would have put them done by June of next year. So it's just a letter request to Department of Defense. Don't slow down, keep the pace.
By week or tomorrow.
I thought it'd be more powerful coming from the full board than just me.
Can I get a, sorry, I'm virtual. Can I get a virtual copy?
Sure.
That'd be great, but it sounds like a good idea.
The only thing I would say is maybe just referencing anything that talks about the original timeline or just like a footnote or something like that. But I think it's a good letter. I think we should send it.
Okay.
Well, we say that the original timeline, we refer to it like, but just like put a link to the document that have that all laid out.
Okay. We'll find a place to add that. And I'll get a copy to you, Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you.
Yeah, then we can just add it to item for tomorrow. Assuming you want to get it out right away.
The money.
Well, government still shut down, but.
Fortunately, we've got time because no one's doing anything.
It's crazy because it seems like a lot of stuff is going on in DC. For them not doing anything, a lot of stuff is happening.
It's just interesting. Israel and Hamas together, but we can't bring the Democrats and Republicans together. Just say.
Yes. Okay, thank you all very much. So that's that is it for us for this afternoon. And so we will adjourn for today and see everybody back tomorrow morning. Thank you.